Don't lie. Sometimes you think you're being like so efficient and like not washing your face because you're like, well, I'm gonna have to shower later. So I'm gonna do like my workout first and then I'll like do it later. And then your skin breaks out and you're like, oh yeah, that's why we don't do that. That's why we don't do that.
Yeah, that's why you do that. So I'm gonna tack on to that confession.
Huh.
So for when I was first in quarantine here in Vegas, I would go and not, shower as much. And I got back acne.
Ugh.
And then I was like, okay, this is not okay. I definitely have to shower every day. So people who don't shower every day, I don't know how you're living life. I literally don't know how you're living life.
I wash my feet every day. Does that count?
Well, that's amazing too. Like, because I have never washed my feet ever in my life, probably. But I also wear socks every day. So,
Right. I don't wear socks.
yeah. All right. This has been a wonderful, wonderful confession, guys.
On that note.
All right. Hi, I'm Sybil Solon. I'm an esthetician and spa owner.
And hi, I'm Alex Ellis. I'm a body nerd and wellness expert, and we are business besties.
And bosses. Running your own business, it's hard.
But we're terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
I've already figured it out, but we promise to share everything we know about what it takes to make six figures and beyond.
And be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks.
Oh my God, a bunch of it totally sucks, but let's get started.
Yes, welcome back to Skinfessional. On today's episode, we are talking about how to learn even as adults. We'll also share with you the 7 types of learning styles.
And why it's not you. It might just be a shitty course design.
Yes. I think that's like the biggest thing. What we want you to take away from today is to understand how you learn so that you can be more discriminating, would that be the word, about the types of things you then invest in or decide to move forward with based on knowing yourself better.
Also, just understand that it's hard to learn as adults. It can be really hard. I know that I struggle a lot. So sometimes understanding kind of how you learn helps you make better choices when you decide to take a course, when you decide to deep dive into a new thing, and then you get frustrated and you're like, you feel like you're failing at it and you just like throw your stuff down. You're like, fuck it all. You can calm yourself down and be like, maybe I'm just going about this the wrong way and I need to find a better option.
Mm-hmm. I think learning new things also really tacks onto what we talked about just a couple weeks ago about perfectionism and motivation. Because raise your hand if you've ever decided to stick to something that was comfortable because you didn't want to suck at something new. Yes. Yeah. As perfectionists and overachievers, like I hate sucking at things. I hate not knowing what I'm really doing. I hate not knowing what to expect, but that's also like how you learn stuff. And all the things that you are so good at now, you had to learn at some time. So it's like, it's not that we're incapable of learning. We just are really comfortable and we got to get uncomfortable.
It's true. And there is a couple of things that are good about learning. So one thing is that it puts you out of your comfort zone, which is good for the brain. It creates new gray matter, which keeps us younger and healthier, right? It keeps our brains flexible because we forget that our brain is a muscle and it needs to be, exercised. We get older and our brains get mushy. So let's keep it healthy and exercised.
Imagine a mushy brain.
The more you do learn and you learn new skills, the easier it is because once again, it's a skill.
Yeah, totally. And I don't know if you have noticed this. So I am friends with a woman from my church who is a little bit older. And in this quarantine, because she's not spending as much time with other people, I've seen a big decline in just like conversation and like ability to recall facts and things like that. And obviously this is like a one-off situation, but like, yes, our brains need to be continually used, and learning a new skill, whether it's a language or baking or not killing plants or like whatever it is, or a new technique that you want to use for your work or whatever, use your brain, use it or lose it. 100% true.
Yeah. So it's important to go out and do it. And I'm going to straight up tell you, as somebody who I have struggled many times with learning things, and understand that learning something new that you're like, this is easy because it's like an addendum or adjacent to something that you're used to doing. That is easier than be like, I'm learning something that's completely new and different and I'm not comfortable and it's completely different is harder. And so
Mhm.
we're asking a lot of people in these days to be like, move out of your comfort zone and do something completely different. If you're a baker, learning how to like fix a car is completely different. And it's probably going to be harder than like, hey, I bake, I'm going to learn how to cook.
Yeah. Although I
Right?
would say those two are very different.
They're different, but they're in the same wheelhouse. So you're like, I at least understand my tools a little bit better. I understand how to use flame.
Okay, I was like, but the tools are totally different. Just kidding.
They're not. They're pans and there's flame.
Yeah,
Whereas you're like,
when
I
you
have
bake,
to
you
go
don't
fix a
really use
car. What?
flame. You don't really use flame when you bake. It's indirect heat.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I've definitely used flame to like caramelize things.
And creme brulee. Okay, we're getting off on a tangent. Anyways, we need to learn stuff. Okay, you guys, we need to
Let's
learn
do this
stuff.
thing. Okay.
Yes. And I also want to add, because we were talking about this in relationship to me, going back to school is hard, yes, but it isn't always the answer, right? You don't
No.
always need another course or another degree or another certification to learn something. You can learn so much on the internet from reading books, from listening to podcasts. Like, we are definitely in an information age where information is aplenty. Actually, I was thinking about this too. So I graduated from university with a degree in exercise biology, and I took a whole anatomy course, 10 weeks of anatomy with cadaver dissection. And when I graduated, I took another cadaver dissection that I paid for out of my own pocket, that was just like for funsies, sort of. And that to me was like a great experience of like, oh, wait, there's all of these opportunities to learn outside of traditional school settings that are
Yeah.
just as beneficial, a trillion times more fun. And then you meet people who are similarly interested like you. Actually, yeah, that's how we met.
That's how we met. That's exactly how
Another
we met.
cadaver dissection. That was actually my second postgraduate cadaver dissection because I love anatomy. I love it so much.
I know. So, and I know that the first time, how I got into anatomy dissection completely is because one of my clients was an FBI field agent and she used to let me come in on her dissections.
What?
I know, right?
Wait, so she
People
was
don't realize
doing like autopsies too?
she would let me come into the autopsies. Yeah. So, and Burbank has an FBI field agent
Yeah.
area and people don't, I didn't know that, but totally
Burbank
does.
and Glendale, because we have a ton of fraud.
Yeah, so they totally had, and they have a dissection area, and so she would let me come in, and so I got super into it. And then when I found out that we were having a dissection, like a class one that I could go and actually like do dissection as well, I was like, this is magic, and that's how Alex and I met.
We locked eyes over a dead body, and it was love at first sight.
It was super. We were super into each other. We're like, hello. It's going to change our lives.
I still remember that class too. That was really fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, all that is to say, you can learn. It doesn't have to be going back to school. I have friends who are still trying to find their way in the world and like what they actually want to do and who they want to work for and like what that looks like. And this friend just like keeps going back to school, and I'm like, school is not the answer. More degrees do not create job opportunities for you. You create job opportunities for you, and then you get to learn what you want to on your own time.
Absolutely. So I actually, when Alex and I were talking about this, we did an amazing webinar today where we Jenna, who we've had here before, she's a social media person, and she is, by the way, if you are looking for a good class, she's having one. She's fantastic. And it's for newbies who are starting out. Alex is not that. She is a crazy, amazing social media manager. She is so good. She is so good. So we sat there and I'm just like, girlfriend, this is not your class.
Because we hopped on and I was like, I thought I wanted to buy this, but like, I don't think it's really for me. And I don't know. I just want this one part of it.
Yeah,
like
this is my class. We talked about what you could be doing instead. And so, guys, this is the thing. When you look at a class, you have to know what it is, what's in it for you and what you need. And so what I told her essentially was it's confidence, right? Which Alex knew as well. Yeah. It's confidence. And for so many people, and it is like this. Estheticians buy equipment to make them feel better and feel like they are more superior and they can charge more money. And people online purchase classes and courses
It's so
to make them
true.
feel smarter and better.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's how this conversation came up, because you're like, how hard is it to keep learning? And why do we purchase these things?
Yeah.
Why do we feel like we need to buy more education? And when should we
Validation.
do it?
I mean, I think it definitely like validation of like, oh, well, I've taken all these courses, like I should know all this stuff. So yeah, I mean, everything we're talking about today too is in knowing yourself and how you work best. And something I've
Mhm.
learned over the last 10 years of doing this is how I learn best. That's not to say I'm not still greatly influenced by wonderful marketing tactics.
It's true. So why is it so hard to learn? One thing, as we get older, we kind of forget. Like in school, we're constantly learning, right? We're plugging away, we're learning things. They're forcing us to learn things, and we have a skill set to do it. As we get older, we kind of forget, and we're like, I'm just used to doing my thing, and I do my daily thing. So when we get older, we kind of have to relearn these skills of the learning. But what we've forgotten is like how we learn, like what way is best for us. So we went online, which is the best way apparently to learn nowadays.
Yeah.
We went to learn and looked up how people learn. So Alex, what are the ways that people learn?
Yeah. And I also want to add to this that, traditional education teaches in one way. And you might have discovered that that style is not how you learn.
Mm,
It took me probably until like my third year of
mm,
university to realize how to actually study and learn and figure it
mm.
out, because I would just fall asleep in lecture all the time. I didn't know myself. If I had a time machine, I would go back and I would tell 18-year-old Alex to just stand in the back of every room so I could fidget. And literally, I would have been awake for 98% more of my college experience. So, knowing these styles of learning will also help you to adapt your interest and what you go after to better fit you. So,
Absolutely.
the first type, and also when I first learned this, how many times can we say learn in an episode?
Woo.
Types of learners, I used to think there was only 4. There's
I did
probably
too. We just found out there are more.
we found there's 7. You could probably find a list where someone's like, there are 27 types of learners. I think, again, it all comes down to knowing yourself and how you learn best and what works for you. So, first type of learning style is an auditory or musical learner. So, you know that you are this type of person if you love to hear things and you retain them better. So you like listening to podcasts, you prefer to listen to the audio version of something. You're totally cool sitting in a lecture and just listening
Mm.
to somebody talk without any slides or anything like that. And you're like, oh yeah, I got all of that. If that's
Right.
you, right?
Also, you might be a person who talks to yourself as an auditory learner. You might be a person who talks to yourself, or you actually need somebody to talk to you, or you need to talk to somebody to actually figure out a plan or discover what the heck's going on.
Well, talking to somebody would actually be more of a verbal learner. So this is really broken down even more. So verbal learners, and
Mm.
I wonder too, I feel like talking to yourself and having that conversation, there's some gray area, which again, there could be 4 learning styles, there could be 7, there could be 97,
Right.
whatever. So verbal learners, saying it or teaching it to someone else really help you to retain that knowledge. There's, I don't even know what this is, see
But a lot of times for auditory, it's often the repeating, the hearing it
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that it's both of those.
Yeah,
But
for
yeah,
sure.
verbal as well. So the repeating, but also the hearing again.
So I took classical piano lessons
Mhm.
for 8 years growing up,
Yeah.
and I can read music, no problem. My brother took 0 piano lessons and could hear a jingle on the TV and then play it on the piano. And I was just like, what the hell is this? I also then tried to shift from classical music into jazz, where it is a lot more of the improvisation and like auditory stuff. Didn't do it. I couldn't do it. I hated it. I hated it so much. I was like, just give me the music. So yeah, auditory musical learners and then verbal learners, right? Saying it and teaching it. It reminds me too of that phrase of see one, do one, teach one,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And also I find too, if you can teach somebody a concept, then that's a good indication that you have a good grasp on it. So shout out
Yeah.
to your people, your rocks, your significant others. My husband, I have taught, I mean, he doesn't really listen, but just me talking to myself has been so helpful to figure out lots and lots of stuff.
Yeah, that's actually more what I always think. Because I know for me, if I can like say it, then I'm like, oh, I claimed it, and I get that. I get that.
Mhm.
I get that idea.
Now, if you are in a situation, right, where you don't have someone to talk to, or your cat is not really, bouncing off ideas with you and it's not helpful, another way to use verbal learning to your advantage is on social media. So I will
Mhm.
often go on stories to share something I just learned. I will do a video and put that up, go live, whatever, to verbally communicate and then have conversations with people about something I've learned. So you can still use technology to, keep learning here.
Wonderful.
You
All
also
right, next one, my friend.
visual and spatial learners. So you're this type of learner if you just need to see something and you're like, yep, got it, right? You see the schematic, you see the slide, you read it in the book, and then you're like, yep, I 100% understand this. I can go and, teach it to anyone. I mean, I guess too, for you would be like seeing someone do a new, facial technique,
Yeah.
and then right away you're like, yep, I know how to do this.
Right. They're also these kind of learners are also the people who they can see something like flat, and they can see like how it gets put together. They're very good parkers.
Yeah.
They they understand space and time better than a lot of people. It's just spatially they get stuff, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's they're amazing people, spatial learners.
You definitely want a spatial learner if you're trying to pack a car to go camping. So shout out to my dad. I'm like, how did you fit all of this in here? This is insane. Insane.
I know they're pretty magical people. They're the people who are like can get stuff back in those little bags after you've pulled stuff out. You're like, how do they do that? It's magic.
You're like, it's my superpower. It's my superpower.
It is a superpower, special learners.
All right, so now let's get into some of the like different types of learning styles that may be unfamiliar, but as I was reading these, I was like, oh yeah, that is who I
Yeah.
am. The next would be a logical and mathematical learner. So a logical learner wants, a system to really logically explain how things work together and what's happening. They want it to make sense in their brain in a really clear way before things kind of click in place.
Yeah, they tend to, and when I look this up a little deeper, they also tend to ask a lot of questions. So
Yeah.
they're also like a questioner. So if you are like, when people are asked, when you're like learning something, you have constant questions, like you're the person like, but, you're that person, you're
Mhm.
probably a logical and mathematical learner.
Yeah.
And everybody else is like, can that person just shut the hell up? The information might be coming, right?
No, we must
So
understand.
now I'm going to totally know when I'm just like, what the hell? There's so many questions. Now I'll know who you are.
uh,
I just judge far less.
so and we'll link to the article in the description of what we're referencing. I really liked their example for like literature. This is classroom studies, you're teaching literature and you're teaching poetry, not just like talking about poetry, but for a logical learner, they want to know about meters and timing, and
Mhm.
all of that stuff is really speaking to their soul and helps them to better retain that information.
Yeah, but like the deep nuances of things.
Was it pentamic? What is it called?
Pentamic meter.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
remember.
everybody is like, I'm just reading it and I want to understand what it says. And they're like, but can I get deeper meaning?
This is like,
Can
okay,
you get
so
deeper?
we're going to go into this as well. But a lot of times, the person teaching or the course you're taking doesn't match your learning style. My junior year, I'm pretty sure, no, senior year English teacher, we were reading Canterbury Tales. He just read it to us at the front of the room every period. And I was like literally looking for any reason to get out of that room. So I watched the entire World Cup from the school resource officer's office. I need to go to the bathroom, and then I would be gone for 40 minutes, and my teacher hated me. So,
I'm sure you learned nothing, and that's very sad.
no, I don't remember anything. And I think that's what the pandemic, I was like, I need to go to the bathroom, and then I just left. Okay, so next style of learning is physical or kinesthetic learners. Now, if you are watching us on YouTube, you will notice that I'm standing because that is me for sure to a T. So if you are a fidgeter, if you like to move, if you let's say someone's trying to show you a new massage technique and you're like, okay, let me try it. Like I need to get in there and do it and feel it in my body to really retain the information. This is probably you. For me also, like the fidgeting and movement I'm doing doesn't have to be exactly related to the thing I'm learning, but I
Yeah.
just need to be in motion. So while we were listening to that workshop this morning, I was on a walk with the dog, taking notes as they came up. And that for me is a fantastic way to learn information compared to sitting here and just watching it. Like that just puts me straight to sleep.
Totally. So I was talking to Alex about the fact that, and we've talked about this for the podcast, is that I actually have trouble remembering my lines at the beginning for the intro. And she's like, at one point in time, she's like, how do you not know your intro lines yet? And I'm like, well, I have to learn for like theater and stuff, I actually have to do movements. I mark everything with a movement of my body or something. And so how I have memorized is, you'll notice my hand gestures, my body positioning. And that is the same kind of thing as kinetic, apparently.
Yeah. And again, it's like knowing how you work best and just leaning into that. I think that there's always a place for learning new things, but I don't think we have to like dramatically change everything about ourselves to like learn new stuff,
No. And I know estheticians, come on now, we do facials for a living. I bet everybody out there is like, yes, I know exactly what this is. I know for my sound bath facial that everything is timed and marked, and it is like a play for me. Like I'm like, and at this motion I do this, and at this time I do this, and it's all based on the music and the sound and what I'm doing with my body.
Yeah, the choreography.
Yeah, choreography. It's all there.
Love it. All right. Next type of learning style is social and interpersonal learner. So this is you if you like group projects and collaborating, and you can tell how I feel about that.
And I love this.
I mean, I was always the kid in the group project who was just like, you guys are too slow. You're doing it wrong. And then I just did the whole thing.
And that's fine. I can still do the whole thing, but like that I was with everybody doing it was magic.
So how are you navigating this in the pandemic?
Yeah, it's been horrible. This is why it's been horrible. It's been literally horrible. This is why I feel dead inside all the time.
We did a course together, which feels like 1,000 years ago.
And it was so much better because you were there with me. I could actually do that and it felt great. So if I have somebody to do something with, it's so much better.
I remember that was super fun. And same for me to have someone else to do it. So actually that would be a great way if you are that type of learner to lean into this. What we did is one of us was like in the Facebook group or whatever. It was me. And then we just did a Zoom call and I shared the screen, which as a course creator, I'm sure she probably would have been like, this isn't right. But like, whatever.
But this is how we got it done because it totally motivated me. It allowed me to do it. I got all my stuff done. I actually used all of the stuff that we did for that, not for what we're supposed to be doing it, but for my Skin Fitness Club. I used all the materials for my Skin Fitness Club, which my club is loving. And so, hey, and it's still there if I ever want to do it for my other thing.
Yeah. No, it's so awesome. Man, I totally forgot about that course, dude. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
Now I'm really trying to use this, collaboration learning style to learn QuickBooks, and it's not working because QuickBooks is not fun.
Oh, you should ask me. I'm very good at QuickBooks because I know it.
I just need to watch the videos because I want to make sure, like, I know how to get started, but I want to know extra features I haven't considered,
Right. So guys, and I'm actually going to deviate for just one moment. Though we only have one more thing, solitary and interpersonal. We're going to finish with solitary and interpersonal.
Okay, we're going to go right there. All right, you are a solitary or intrapersonal learner if you like to do stuff on your own. So this actually goes back to what we started talking about on this workshop. I was like, take my money. I want to sign up for this course. It sounds great. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, and actually, no, it doesn't because I don't need 8 of those 10 things because I can already do those. So I have discovered that I like smaller groups, right? If I'm in a membership of 10,000 people, I just leave because I'm like, I want to be seen. And also if rather than, for me investing into a course, if I could just pay that creator for 1 or 2 sessions of one-on-one, totally focused time, I personally get so much more out of it and am able to like go above and beyond than I would in, trying to learn it on my own. Working with Lindsay for me was a perfect example of this, right? I had read so many books, listened to all of the things, and in 4 sessions, literally transformed my brain into how I think about money. And like, y'all, I got an emergency fund who am I even?
Amazing. Amazing. Absolutely. And so so one of the things that I find when you're learning things that are new is knowing how you learn is important. But when you go into the learning, you're like, okay, I'm learning this thing and it's really hard and I'm stumped. And I don't like it. So like, I'm learning QuickBooks and I don't
Yeah.
want to do this and I hate it. So one of the things I've learned from my lovely man Nils, who codes for a living, and literally his part of his job is to go in and learn things that people don't like to learn in the most boring way possible.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned from him is if you are what he calls stalling on something
Yes.
for more than an hour,
Mm-hmm.
leave it alone. You don't dump any more time into it. Move on to something else for a while.
What have you been stalling it for like 3 months?
Yeah. So probably you're not going to ever get into that. No, you need to come at it from a different direction.
Yeah.
Right.
So true.
So I'm like, I don't know. I keep failing at this. Like I tried to do it and I like, it didn't work. And then I tried to do it and it still wasn't working. And I watched another thing and it still wasn't working. And he's like, so you were stalling at it. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, leave it. He's like, you've dumped too much time into it. Stop dumping time into that. Go back to it another time when you're fresh.
So true. And also, I mean, does this happen for you where like you walk away from it, you know, you're making cat food or you're making dinner and your brain is still thinking about it. And then you're
like, oh,
yeah. And then you solve the problem.
Right. And you're like, oh, and sometimes I still don't because like, listen, tech is hard for me. And like, I'll just be like, I mean, I can watch 17 videos by like 4-year-olds and I'll still be like, I don't get this. And sometimes it's hard because like the videos are old, like especially with tech. You'll be like those QuickBook videos. They're like, oh, we updated stuff, but we haven't updated those videos.
I know. Well, I did buy a course. Like I bought a straight up course on QuickBooks and I just need to like watch the videos.
Right.
And I think that they should be short enough that at this point I just need to like, it's like motivation kind of thing. If I understand a checkbox, I will do it then.
Right. So the other thing about videos that I've learned from him is like literally start from the beginning. Don't be like, oh, I just think I need to know these few things. He's like, watch from the beginning and watch them all the way through. Don't be like fast forwarding. Just watch it all the way through. And now Alex will watch it on like 2 times speed, which is fine. I have learned valuable lessons about 2 times speed. Though sometimes I'll watch it on 0.75 speed.
Oh God, no.
Like, what are they talking about? I'm trying to do it at the same time.
So I watch it. This is a new thing I just did and it totally helped. I watch the whole thing through and then I go back and then, and then do it along.
Treat it like you're doing like a recipe. So watch the whole thing and then go back and try to do it again. And then I put it on slower speed if I'm trying to do it again.
Never.
And open up another screen.
Yeah.
Right. But so those are the things that I know when learning that you try to do. So don't dump too much time into it. Let it sit if you have to. Dial a friend.
Yeah.
Who might know how to do something. Which Alex will be like, why didn't you ask me?
I don't know.
I don't want to seem really stupid. It seems like it should be so easy, but like 4 hours later, it's not.
And honestly, like whenever I text you or send you like a voice memo or whatever, like trying to solve a problem, it comes to me. So I'm going to do a IG live with our friend, Dr. Sarah Court. And I was trying to figure out how to get this on my podcast. I was like thinking about it. And I was like, okay, well, she could record audio on her end and I could record it on my end, but then she would need to send it to me right away. And I hope it uploads fast enough to Dropbox because I got to get it to the producer. And then I sat on it, walked away from it, and I was like, oh, wait, duh, we have a tool. We're using said tool right now, Zencastr, to record this episode. And I was like, oh, okay, my bad. So yeah, walking away from things, like you don't learn from sitting there and trying to force something and getting up, walking away, coming back to it a day later, whatever is going to help you actually learn stuff. And I think too, like anytime we enter into some scenario, we have to expect that it's going to be messy, that we're going to make mistakes and that's okay. Because if you're expecting to figure it out, I would do this too, in the first hour and you don't, and then you're like, this is bullshit. And then you just get mad and then you're not in a good place to learn. So don't do that. Don't be like that.
Absolutely. And there are definitely times where you are going to feel like you are the stupidest person on earth. It's okay. Know that everybody's been there.
Yeah.
It's okay. Remember, this is hard. It's hard.
It's hard. Nobody knows what you know about some other stuff. So there's always that.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard.
You mentioned something before we started recording about batching your learning. Can you tell me more about that?
Oh yeah. So one of the things about batching your learning. So I like to gather a bunch of like my videos. So like I'm going to learn this and I'll actually batch all that knowledge and I'll watch them all at the same time,
Mm,
right? So like I'll just like you batch anything else. So you just batch all your learning. So you batch all those videos instead of like doing all the like cuz research finding of like videos takes a long time in
yeah.
itself. And then you're like, well, this video had this information, and then I had to go find this other video, and then I like, and next thing you know, you spend 6 hours and you have not accomplished anything, and you just feel really frustrated. So a lot of times I'll imagine, I'm trying to learn this thing. I'm going to go find what I think is 8 solid videos.
That's so many videos.
Well, sometimes I need like 8 solid videos. So like I'll find 8 solid videos, and I might just need the first 2, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I have the 8 just in case.
I'm like, did this TikTok explain it? No, I can't learn it. Moving on.
No, I'm like, okay, and now I have these. I find that for me, 8 videos is like a good like yay amount of videos, and that way I often will only need the 3. But sometimes I'm like, I'm so glad I had those 8 videos because this one was crap, and this and this one repeated the same thing, and
Yeah.
this one was an advertisement.
Right.
Right? Because I don't do a deep dive into that video. I literally am like, these just look like decent videos. I kind of scrub through them a little bit, and I'm gonna go learn that on a different day.
Yeah. And that batching of, similar type of task of finding the videos is not the same as watching the videos. And so
Yes.
you are saving time in the searching. And then when it's time to watch and consume and take notes, you've already done that legwork of like trying to find all the stuff. So I think that's a really great technique, whether you're trying to learn something or create something or whatever.
Right. And I do find that for me, like research is a different part of my brain than learning. And that way I know I'm sitting down and I'm like, okay, now I'm just going to learn this thing instead of having constantly switch my gears.
Yeah.
Of like, now I have to research this thing. And nothing is more frustrating for me as a learner than knowing that I've gotten nowhere at the end of like 3 hours.
Yeah. My
Right.
God. Yeah.
So if I've at least been like, well, I've already researched this and the research was good. Yay. I feel like I at least accomplished something with my research. I can check off
Keep
that
that
box in
bar
my mind.
nice and low.
Right. And then if I'm sitting down later, I'm like, okay, so now I'm going to utilize this research and I'm going to try to get this thing done.
Mhm.
Cool. I'm going to try to get this thing done. And I watch the video and I try to do the thing and we see how it goes. And if in an hour later I still haven't succeeded, I'm like, well, I did try and an hour has gone by. I'm going to walk the F away.
Yeah. I think also too that we got to be honest that sometimes like there are tools that are better, right? That sometimes you got to pay money and it'll do it better. So for example, I was trying to learn yesterday how to cut out, remove a background from an image because there is a tool called Canva, right? We've talked about it before that has a one-click button that does this. And I was like, I mean, that's cool, but like I could probably do it for free on my own better. So I went and found a YouTube video. I watched it all the way through at 2x speed. Then I went back and I did it with him as he was talking through it. And it looked okay, but it also had taken me like at this point we've already invested 25-30 minutes into this endeavor, and then I was like, well, let me try it a little better. So then I watched another video and tried it along with it, and then it looked terrible, and then I was like, well, let me just try this Canva tool. So I logged into Canva, or actually a friend's account, because she has all the bells and whistles. One click button, you guys.
Magic, guys.
And just like whoop, all done. So much better than I could ever do. So the time saving on that, like I don't need to learn how to do it because this tool already does it so much better than I ever will. So let me like spend time doing things that matter more.
I know. So yeah, so that is very true. It's very true. And there are sometimes times where you just are like, I pay for the thing because the money is worth it. And some cobbling things together and wasting time is not worth it for your business. And we've had a whole episode about this, and it's the hardest lesson to learn, guys. It is literally the hardest lesson to learn. And it's a lesson that you'll constantly still find yourself learning over and over again.
Yeah.
Right. You'll be like, no, but this time I'm just going to do this. I mean, maybe this one thing, this one time. And next, you'll be like, I've not learned this lesson and I should just go pay for this other tool. I'm so stupid.
It's so true. That's me in QuickBooks as well. I moved to QuickBooks because the tool I was using, well, here, faster, better, cheaper, right?
Hmm.
You can pick two. That's always a
Yeah.
rule. Or no, excuse me. You can pick one, right? Is it one?
No, you can pick two. So faster, better, cheaper. So you can have the triangle. You can pick two of the things, but you can't have all three.
You can't have all three. Yeah. So
Can't have
it
all
was
three.
cheaper. No, I think whatever. It was cheaper, but it was not faster and it wasn't better. So now I'm paying more for QuickBooks, just, a little bit, but it is so much better than the old tool I was using. And like, I think that's the thing too, is, you're moving your business. And I mean, whether it's online or not, a tool
Hmm.
that may be slightly more expensive, but that saves you time, because time is your only resource that you
Time is
cannot
money.
create more of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I have more time to then reach out to people or to create content or to interact with my members, whatever it may be, that to me is worth whatever this tool might cost.
Right. And so I'm going to talk about for a second, there's this idea of like, we have this surface learning and then we have like this deeper learning.
Mhm.
And I know for me, one of the hardships about learning is that I am like a deeper learner, right? So I want to know like everything about something. So because I'm a deep researcher, like I grew up like as a researcher. So I'm like, oh, so I want to learn QuickBooks. I'm going to learn everything there is to know about QuickBooks before I even use QuickBooks. I'm going to get deep into the QuickBooks. I'm going to be a perfectionist about QuickBooks. I'm going to be a perfectionist god.
Have you ever done Clifton Strength Finders?
Yes.
What are your
And I'm going to
strengths?
be a god.
What are your strengths?
I don't remember, but I've done
Oh
them.
my gosh, you have to share it with us because I'm dying to know.
All right, hold on. I'll make sure for next episode that I'll bring
Yeah.
it in because I have it somewhere on my computer.
Because I'm a learner, but I also am like a quick action taker. And so I'm
So,
curious, like, what combination of strengths you
yeah.
have, because I know this about you too, where you're like, well, I'm still learning about it. And I'm like, why? No, like, just do it already. You'll learn while you're
No,
doing. And that's not you.
I'm a crazy deep diver into things. Like that's why I know. So you ever come to me and I'm like, I know that. It's because I've learned it super deeply, so deeply.
Yeah,
When you're like on Reddit, I'm like, oh, I already learned all that.
Although I did teach you something today.
That's true. But then if I want to know it, I remember the first question I asked, I was like, but how much did you know?
Yeah. Well, so now we've learned that Sybil will have 4 iterations of her plane before she decides to fly, whereas I will fly and build the wings as we're in the air.
and I'll be like, I hope we don't fucking die.
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, we'll figure it out. And if we die, like, we have parachutes. It's fine. It's fine.
Right. I hope we don't die. So I'm a crazy deep learner.
Are there things too that you find are like better, like surface learning, and other things you're like, no, you really need to learn this?
So I found that it's actually one of the hardest things about learning on the internet is that is like this surface. Like people are like, when Alex tells me, she's like, just go learn that on the internet. I'm like, but everything on the internet is like this upper level learning. Whereas if you want to go deep learning, you really do need to buy a course and you have to pick a good course.
Yeah.
And sometimes that good course is hard to find. So then you're like, well, I need to go do research on the course because it's going to be crap, half of them. So this is why you need 8 videos to get to the good video.
Yes.
And you can always come to me because I'm going to give you the good person. I'm going to give you the best person. I'm going to give you the best thing to buy. I'm going to give you the best thing. Yeah,
no, that's super true because you've always led us to excellent courses.
It's true. And that's the reason because I do like the hard research. So understand that if you are a deep learner, the hardest thing that you're going to experience is you're going to be like, I want to know the deep things. And there's a part of you that's your heart's going to palpitate and you're going to sweat trying to just understand that surface learning. The easiest thing for you is just to be like, okay, I just need to get into this and allow yourself to kind of be like, it's okay that I'm not a perfectionist. Let it go and just try to get it done and embrace your adventurer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay if it's not working. Mm-hmm. And walk away. And that's what I've had to learn. And like walk away and just throw your pen down and stomp away and be angry and just like shake. And apparently we're shaking things off.
Yeah. Shake it off.
The trauma of it will just shake off.
That does help. Now, I think this idea too of like what courses offer, because I think there's like a lot of, standard features, we'll say, like Facebook groups are super, super common as a course offering. But sometimes a Facebook group could just be a distraction, right? Yeah. Like I know of...
I hate Facebook groups. They're like the worst. in my
Right.
opinion, for
I'm in a
me.
Facebook group that I really, really love and we have deep conversations on. And then I've also been in groups that like people don't really use them. So it's not really helpful. Or the conversation that keeps coming up, it's like the same thing again and again and again. I'm like, we already talked about this. Like, please don't let people ask this question. So if you're, if that's not your cup of tea, then maybe a course that's their main selling point isn't totally, for you.
Right.
Sometimes, even those one-to-one calls, if you're a more collaborative learner or, you need more, I guess it would be even like visual kind of stuff. Like maybe that's
Mhm.
not enough for you.
Right.
And also like the batching, this is both ways for both course creators and course consumers.
Right.
So I was listening to a conversation happening about course design, and they were talking about for auditory learners and having those audio files available. Your brain is in a more relaxed state when you're listening to audio rather than watching stuff. Like even just being at your computer is a completely different experience. And so a very common thing in course design is just to like slap that audio file right underneath the video lesson, and like there you go, there you have it. But that doesn't really organize the content in a way that makes it easier for your student, right? Not everybody is like Sybil, who's going to sit down and batch the stuff together and download all those audio files
Mhm.
and organize all those audio files together. In which case you're like, okay, I know I'm an auditory learner and they offer auditory, but like, I'm never going to do that batching. Like this isn't really helpful for me. Versus, so again, as a course creator, something to think about is maybe I want to create a, private podcast feed where my students can get the audio files already organized for them, already right there, and then I can update it as I go along. Right. So that's a way as a
Mhm.
creator, I can do that batching for them and create the systems on my back end that allow for it. But again, just like things to think about. Another thing
Right.
to think about, we talked about doing that collaboration and watching those live calls together. You may also be persons like, well, I don't really care about live calls. So I can sign up for a course with someone in Australia and the time doesn't work out, but that's fine because I know that I'm totally cool with the replay versus I know I need to be there when it happens live. So I'm going to make sure that the class times are happening when I can show up so that I can get the most out of it.
Right. And I know for me, I'm a person who I do like that the collaborations. And so for me, the courses that I've liked the most are ones that actually put people into smaller groups of like 6 people where they kind of get together and have, conversations like weekly.
Mm-hmm.
And so you might be somebody who needs that, or if you're putting together a course, you're thinking about that.
Yeah, yeah, just like that smaller collaborative kind of
Yeah,
support
the
groups.
smaller collab groups.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that you have to do a project together, but I actually have liked the ones where they're like, "Hey, get together, have conversations, help each other out."
Yeah. It's funny, I thought I didn't like that, and I was at a live, event that normally happens in Toronto, but one of
Mm,
the silver pandemic linings
mhm,
was that
mhm.
they did online, so I got to go, and I didn't have to pay any for travel and all that jazz. So there was, like, over 4,000 people on this ginormous Zoom call, and then they would break us out into these
The
tiny.
screen's like this big.
No. So they would do just the presenter screen. So that's all you could see. And then you could like swipe through and see everybody who was in your room and all of that. Cause I think it was like 10 or more different Zoom
Mhm.
room, like, or I don't know, it's something crazy. But then they would pop us into smaller groups to like have these conversations. At first, I was like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. But then it was like really cool to like talk with people and meet people from all around the world and collaborate in that way. So I definitely think that having those small like accountability groups, so to speak, is
Yeah,
a great add on for any course.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, one of my favorite courses, guys, that I know that I did was one where we'd all get together, we'd do writing together, and then we'd listen to somebody kind of do like a pump up talk, and then she'd break us out into smaller groups, and we'd have different groups every time, and we'd have conversations for like 20, 30 minutes, and then we'd come back and we'd all talk together and people could share.
Mm,
And I really liked that. And we had weekly meetings for this one class for like 8 weeks. And I really enjoyed it.
that
And it
does
was
sound
enough.
nice.
Yeah, and it was kind of enough for everyone. And I really enjoyed that.
I'm like, man, that sounds like such a good idea. Now I'm like trying to think of how I could work that in, but I love that.
So it's a matter of kind of finding what suits you best. And if you're somebody, especially in this time where you're maybe trying to find a course, or you're trying to find something that's pumping you up, or you're trying to find that thing that's you're passionate about again, you're creating your own course, this is the things that you should be thinking about.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, you have permission to go learn something that you're not going to monetize. It's just a straight up stinking hobby, you know?
Yeah, you want to go learn how to bake? You want to go learn how to fix a car?
Yeah.
You want to go learn how to travel hack? Hey, tell us what you want to go learn how to do.
Yeah, changing your oil is not that hard. I learned.
Absolutely not. Did you wash your car yesterday?
I did wash it on Sunday, and it looks so much cleaner, and it's totally worth it.
Right on, because I've been deep diving into some the new technology to the nanospheres to wash your cars and keep it clean for forever. So I'll keep you all informed of those new nanospheres that are out there to keep your car super clean. I have the drive-in car wash down to a science in 10 minutes. Cleanest car ever. There you go. Cleanest car ever. All right. So yeah, tell us what you're learning. Tell us what's up. Tell us if you now feel like you have the permission to go forth and learn something, anything. Just challenge your brain. One thing I thought about learning, I still haven't done because I sucked at it, was hand lettering. But there's always tomorrow. Hand lettering sounds horrible. My handwriting looks like chicken scratch. And then I was like, you know what? But like, it's your chicken scratch and that's okay. So maybe we'll just stick with the chicken scratch. I don't know. I can barely read mine most days. Yeah, I can't read yours either. No, I've definitely gone back sometimes and been like, I don't actually know what my notes say, which is why I don't need to take notes, because I remember everything. Yeah, but as you're writing it down, it does help to seal it into your brain. There's something. I've actually never found that to be true for my brain. So well, you are an alien. We know this. It's true. 9% auditory learner. So send us what you're learning. Tell us what's up. Tell us all the fun things that are going on. Yes. Do you wash your feet at night? No, I'm just kidding. So you can find us on social. The show is at Skinfessional. Sybil is at Your Skin Fitness Expert. I am at Holla for Mala. Or you can give us a ring on the Skinfessional box. Yes, the phone number is 818-473-5277. And if you are no ASL, I'm making a box right now. Oh. I was like, is that the vagina sign? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm signing for everyone right now. Yeah, we're signing on a podcast. It's a great medium. This is a great medium for that. That's where people could see it. So there you have it. All right, guys. So until next week, keep your secrets to yourself. Unless you're telling us. Okay, bye. Bye.